Let's talk about better prompting. Now, this topic is a bit more technical, but is very important. Once you create better prompts, you can achieve better results, you can reduce costs, and you can make your softwares or automations or anything more accurate. And today I want to share with you a resource that I've stumbled upon. It's a resource provided by the Anthropic team, the guys who built Claude, and they are providing very insightful examples and resources and guides about how to become a better prompt engineer and basically make the most out of using and leveraging the LLMs. So we'll cover in this video different topics, how you can use multimodals like vision models, how you can write better prompts, best practices, etc. Most of it will be based on the Anthropic documentation, which you can find in their docs right here. Let's get started. And by the way, at the end, I will share with you something that they called a meta prompt, which is very interesting because it's also interesting for two reasons. First of all, it seems pretty useful. And second of all, I like to view these prompts and dissect them and try to figure out how other people are building prompts and use them as references later. I have a tendency, and other people have a tendency, to just try to get things done fast. So writing prompts with not enough examples, not enough context, and at the end of the day, if you don't write good prompts, you won't get good results. So you get what you get what you put in. So if the prompt is good, your results will be better. So we will cover the meta prompt afterwards. Let's get started. So intro to prompting. Claude is trying to be helpful, honest, and a harmless assistant. The quality of the instructions you give Claude can have a large effect on the quality of its outputs, especially for complex tasks. One thing to understand here is that every LLM is built kind of differently. So what works as a prompt for Mistral might not necessarily work as a prompt for Claude, but the guidelines and like the overarching ideas of how to create prompts, I believe they are pretty similar. So this is why it's so important to understand these principles. So a prompt is just the text that you give Claude to elicit or prompt a relevant output. A prompt is usually in a form of a question or instructions. For example, why is the sky blue? The text that Claude responds with is called a response, sometimes called an output or completion. And as you can see, the sky appears to be blue, blah, blah, blah. Now, Claude works by sequence prediction. Claude is a conversational assistant based on an LLM. The model uses all the text that you have sent to him in a prompt, and the text is generated so far to predict next token that would be most helpful. This means that Claude constructs its response one set of characters at a time in order, and this is very important to understand. I'm assuming that most of you that already have been learning prompt engineering know this, but if you didn't know this is something crucial. It cannot go back and edit its response after it has been written, unless you give it a chance to do so in a subsequent prompt. Claude can also only see and make prediction on what it has in the context window. This is why context windows are so important, and LLMs that have a longer context window sometimes outperform LLMs that have a smaller context window. The downside of having a very long context window is the fact that sometimes the LLM doesn't know what is more important and what is less important within the context window. So yes, this is covered here. The maximum prompt length that Claude can see is the context window, and we have a model comparison over here. We won't go into this. Now in a moment, we will start covering like the best practices and techniques. Let's move on. Okay, so prompt engineering, we discussed this. So the prompt development lifecycle is very important. So first, you develop test cases, then you engineer a preliminary prompt, then you test the prompts against cases, and you refine the prompts. And if you like what the prompts are doing, you basically share the polished prompts or launch the prompt. So define the task and success criteria. So let's say we'll take the most obvious example. Write a Python snake game for me. So this is what you would like to achieve. You would like to achieve a well-written code for creating a Python game. And you have criteria in which you measure the code. Then you start developing it. With your tasks and success criteria defined, the next step is to create a diverse set of test cases that cover the intended use cases for your application. These should include both typical example and edge cases to ensure your prompts are robust. Having well-defined test cases up front will enable you to objectively measure the performance of your prompts against your success criteria. So for example, if we're building a snake game, what we'd like to do is have the ability to move the snake on our screen, controlling it with the arrows, leading it to eating an apple. Whenever the apple is being eaten, we want the snake to grow by 1 block, and we want the score to increase. Another thing is we would like that whenever the snake encounters itself, the game would be over. Whenever the snake touches the screen, the barriers or the borders of the screen, the game will be over. So this is kind of like what we would like to achieve. Then we engineer the preliminary prompt. Craft an initial prompt that outlines the task definition, what would be a good response, and any necessary context for Claude. Ideally, you should add some examples of canonical inputs and outputs for Claude to follow. And we will see this later. Then we basically let Claude or any LLM write the output for us. In this case, it's going to be a snake game. Then we carefully evaluate the model response against our expected outputs and success criteria. So ideally, a good prompt engineer would use a consistent grading rubric. So we would break down the code to different elements. So is it functioning or not functioning? Does it have good grading the documentation and commenting, grading the structure, the layout, whatever. So we decide a criteria and we try to stick to it. This is very important, and people overlook this because sometimes you just want to prompt and create stuff fast, but if you don't have these criteria in mind and also understanding the edge cases up front, it will kind of make you do this many times. And basically, if you don't think about stuff carefully before you execute them, if you don't plan, so you're basically planning to fail. I apologize for using the cliche, but this is true. Anyway, based on the results, you refine the prompt. So iteratively refine your prompt to improve performance on the test cases and better meet your success criteria. If you like what you see, you basically ship the polished prompts. Now, some techniques or guidelines for creating better prompts. So be clear and direct, provide clear instructions and context to guide Claude response. Include examples. So basically you show examples to Claude of how you would like things to look. And if you provide examples, it has reference, and the likelihood of the output being similar to what you expected is going to increase. Give Claude a role. Prime Claude to inhibit a specific role, like that of an expert, in order to increase performance of your use cases. Use XML tags. Chain prompts. Divide complex tasks into smaller manageable steps for better results. This is also very important. Basically, you need to break stuff down into smaller chunks, and then it will be easier for you to manage, and also it will be easier for the LLM to create what you expected. If you give it just a very long, complex task, the likelihood of it being confused or not focusing on the most important thing is going to be higher. So chain prompts would always be a better solution. Another thing related to this is let Claude think. So ideally, you would tell Claude to step by step think about how to write this code, or write down a detailed, broken down step by step way in which you're going to execute the code or write the code. So just adding like the step-by-step to the prompt is going to increase the likelihood of the output being better. Another idea is pre-fill Claude responses. Start Claude response with a few words to guide this output in the desired direction. So for example, let's say I would like to write cold outreach email. So I'm going to write the prompt, write a cold outreach email with personalized messages, blah, 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 step by step, whatever. We use all these guidelines. And then at the end of the prompt, you can write, start with, hi, first name, I'm very happy to meet you. I've just checked out your website, and then 3 dots. Basically, you're starting the response, and this guides Claude regarding how you would like the output to be, and basically it puts like guardrails. So Claude won't hallucinate and will basically continue what you had in mind. You can also control the output format, so specify the desired output. You can ask it to be bulleted, you can ask it to be in a JSON structure, whatever. You can always ask Claude for rewrites, and you must realize that context matters. And when there is very long context, it is better to test different orders of prompts and different ways to focus certain aspects of the text. So for example, if you start by providing context and write like your request at the end. So for example, let's say I scraped a website and I want to create a cold outreach based on what the company is doing. And I saw it in the website. So I can copy and paste the landing page or the About Us page, paste it in the input window in my prompt, and then please write a structured personalized email to this company, to the company above. So this would be one way. The prompt is at the end. Alternatively, we can start with a prompt at the beginning and please write a personalized outreach email based on the following context, and then copy and paste the About Us page. And the results would be different. And this is very important to understand. Now, moving on, the Anthropic team created a very interesting Google spreadsheet. It basically allows you to exercise your prompt engineering skills. You would need to connect your Claude API over here because it is pulling from the API the results. So you can write the prompt over here and then see the response. They have it's very well structured, and it's also very cool to see how they built everything in this Excel or Google Sheet. So basically, for example, this lesson shows you how to be direct and clear. And here's an exercise. And here is an exercise and more context about how to assign roles. And it goes on, and this is very useful. So if you would like to master prompt engineering, I highly recommend checking this out. Moving on, the Anthropic team have also provided a prompt library, which contains, and I will share the link in the video description, it contains different prompts, and it's very interesting to see because these prompts are well thought of, and they have a lot of nuances, and it's very interesting to check this out and see exactly how they created these prompts. Let's cover a few examples. So the website wizard, basically it creates a one-page website based on user specification. So we have the system message. So your task is to create a one-page website based on the given specifications delivered as an HTML file with embedded JavaScript and CSS. The website should incorporate a variety of engaging and interactive design features such as drop-down menus, dynamic text, content, clickable buttons, and more. Ensure that the design is visually appealing, responsive, and user-friendly. The HTML, CSS, and JavaScript code should be well-structured, efficiently organized, and properly commented for readability and maintainability. This is only the system message, and now the rest of the prompt. Which is more like specific. This is like priming. This is the same system message, like priming Claude, and this is the actual prompt, the actual request. Create a one-page website for an online learning platform called EduQuest with the following features and sections. Fixed navigation bar with links to course categories, a hero section with a video background showcasing students learning online, blah, blah, blah. A featured courses section displaying course cards with placeholders for course images, titles, instructions, and descriptions. Interactive learning paths, success stories, a footer, etc. Include filler placeholders content for the video background, course cards and testimonials. Embed the CSL styles with the style tag in the head section and place the JavaScript code within the script tag at the end of the body section. The JavaScript code should handle the dynamic tagline in the hero section, rotating through the different taglines every 3 seconds. So look how detailed this is. I must admit, I don't recall creating so detailed prompts in my life. But this just comes to show you that when you invest in the prompt, I mean, you need to invest in prompt. This is just a great example. Another one is the Excel formula expert, which create Excel formula based on user described calculation or data manipulations. The system message: as an Excel formula expert, your task is to provide advanced Excel formulas that perform the complex calculations or data manipulation described by the user. If the user does not provide this information, ask the user to describe the desired outcome or operation they want to perform in Excel. Make sure to gather all necessary info you need to write in order to complete a formula, such as relevant cell ranges, specific conditions, criteria, or desired output. Once you have a clear understanding of the user requirements, provide a detailed explanation of the Excel formula that would achieve the desired results. Break down the formula into components, explaining the purpose and function of each part and how they work together. Additionally, provide any necessary context or tips for using the formula effectively within an Excel worksheet. That was the system message. Now, the user prompt. I have a table with sales data, including the salesperson name in column A, the product category in column B, the sales amount in column C, and the data of the sale in column D. I want to calculate the total sales amount for each salesperson, but only for sales of products in the electronics category that occurred in the month of January. Can you help me with the Excel formula to achieve this? And this is the output. So as you can see, the system message and the user prompt are very well structured and very detailed. Here's another example how to basically prompt Claude to distill meetings into concise summaries. We won't cover this. And here is another one, which basically it's called Grading Guru. Compare and evaluate the quality of written text based on user-defined criteria and standards. As you can see here they have no system message, only like the user prompt. So evaluate the following 2 texts based on the given criteria. This is text 1, this is text 2, and this is the criteria. Descriptive language and imagery, sentence structure and variety, emotional impact and engagement, grammar and punctuation. And as you can see here, basically Claude is breaking down the text based on the criteria. Awesome. So just a recap, we covered what is prompt engineering, we covered its importance, we saw this amazing Google spreadsheet provided by the Anthropic team that allows you to practice prompt engineering. And then we covered a few examples in the Anthropic prompt library, which is very valuable because, as you guys saw, their prompts are very well structured and very detailed. Now, I want to share with you a few more examples and best practices, also from the documentation. First of all, we will cover how to pass images into Claude. So the Claude free model family supports images input in the API. So basically, you can send it APIs, images via API, and then get responses based on the images. So here is an image that was sent. This is the text that was sent in the API. Write a sonnet based on this image, and this is the response. You can also share an image via URL. So this is a Wikimedia image. You can just send it over to Claude and describe if you ask Claude to describe the image, it can do so. Moving on, this is where it becomes interesting. So best practices for using Vision with Claude. So Vision allows for a new model of interaction with Claude. And here are a few tips that they are sharing. So first of all, you can apply traditional techniques to multimodal. So you can fix hallucination issues with traditional prompt engineering techniques like role assignment. And this is an example. So suppose you want Claude to count the number of dogs in the image. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is the initial prompt. How many dogs are in the picture? The response says the image shows a group of 10 dogs of various breeds sitting together in a grassy field, whatever, but we only have 9 dogs over here. But Claude thinks there are 10. Now, if we apply a little prompt engineering twist and try again, we will see the response is going to be different. So this is the prompt. You have perfect vision and pay great attention to detail, which makes you an expert at counting objects in images. How many dogs are in the picture? Before providing the answer, think step by step, tags, and analyze every part of the image. Okay, so this was the prompt. And this is the response. And this is amazing. I love this example. So thinking. To accurately count the number of dogs in the image, I'll visually scan the image from left to right, focusing on each individual dog. Starting on the left side, I see 2 black dogs standing next to each other. Moving to the right, there's a white and gray dog, then a brown and white dog, then predominantly black dog with white markings, blah blah blah. Scanning the remaining portion, after carefully examining each dog in the photo, it appears I have counted for all dogs in the present. Now, the response, and this is awesome. They added these tags to different stages of the output, and then you can easily parse the responses. So answer, there are 9 dogs total in the image of the diverse group of dogs, etc. Awesome. So as you can see, just adjusting the prompt gives you correct advice and correct output. And we also saw the fact that you can break down or use tags within the prompt, which allows easier parsing afterwards. Visual prompting. Images as input allows for prompts to now be given within the image itself. Let's take a look at some examples. In this image, we write some text and draw an arrow on it. Let's just pass this to Claude with no accompanying text. So no accompanying text, just send out this image. The image shows a simple black circle outline on a white background. Inside the circle, there is a straight horizontal line that does not touch the circle edges. The circle and line are both drawn with thin black strokes, blah, blah, blah. As you can see, Claude tried to describe the image as we didn't give it a question. Let's add a question to the image and pass it again. We just added the question to the image, nothing in the prompt. And as you can see here, the area of the circle is, and it's basically answering based on the image or based on the question that was embedded in the image. We can also highlight specific parts of the image and ask questions about it. So this is very cool as well. What's the difference between these two numbers? And as you can see, these were highlighted. And the difference between North America net sales for 12 months ended blah, blah, blah. And as you can see, this is the difference. He knows, he can recognize what we have highlighted in the images. Next thing is few short examples. Adding examples to prompts still improve the accuracy with visual tasks as well. Let's ask Claude to read a picture of a speedometer. So this is the speedometer. We have the miles per hour, 140. And we're asking Claude, what speed am I going based on the speedometer? And the speedometer in the image is showing a speed of 140 kilometers, which is incorrect because it is showing we have miles over here and not kilometers. So what we can do is adjust the prompt by providing a few examples. So Claude answer doesn't look quite right. It thinks we are going at 140 kilometers and not 140 miles. Let's try again, but this time let's add some examples to the prompt. So as you can see here, we added a few examples. What speed am I going? This is the question. And these are like examples. You are going at 70 miles per hour. You are going at 100 miles per hour. And then the next time we are going to ask this, it will know the speedometer in the image shows that we are going at 140 per hour. So Claude learned how to read the speed on the speedometer just by adding like more, it's called few shots prompting, basically allowing Claude to do a few tests and also providing a few examples prior to getting the response. Okay, next, multiple images as input. So Claude can also accept and reason over multiple images at once within the prompts as well. So let's say you had a really large image, like an image of a long receipt. We can split that image into chunks and feed each one of those chunks into Claude. This example isn't so interesting, pretty straightforward, but let's move on to the next. And object identification from examples. With image input, you can pass in other images to prompt, and Claude will use that information to answer questions. Let's see an examples. Suppose you were trying to identify the type of pants in the image. We can provide Claude with some examples of different types of pants in the prompt. So you can see here, you have different types of pants in the prompt, and then Claude responds with the type of pants that we have in the image. Okay, let's move on. Transcribing documents, this is also a use case I didn't use too often and didn't think about, but this is also very cool. Basically, you can take text and transcribe it. So it's not similar to OCR, and this is an explanation. The advantage of using Claude over traditional OCR system is that you can specify exactly what you would like to transcribe. Let's transcribe just the code in the answer. So we are only interested in this part. If we would use OCR and try to analyze the text, the OCR would spit out everything over here. But we are only interested in the code, which is this section, and Claude can assist with this. So transcribe the code in the answer, only the output code. As you can see here, it gave us the output code. So this is one alternative. The other alternative is transcribing handwritten text. So Claude excels at transcribing handwritten text as well. Let's ask Claude to transcribe the handwritten prescription note. Pretty easy. Transcribe the text, and we got out the text. We can also transcribe forms. I'm not going to cover this. And also, we can use Claude in order to assist us with complicated document QA. So with Claude, we can go beyond this transcription and ask questions about our information in unstructured documents. So we have this image, which is the most critical issue for live rep support. And Claude can analyze this, and basically, although it is not straightforward, it can analyze this image and understand and will spit out the result. And the most critical is product quality and liability issues. And the response was according to the hierarchy of importance pyramid for live rep support shown in the image. The most important is the quality and product quality and liability issues. And we can also take unstructured information and change it into JSON. So over here we have an org chart, and let's assume that we want a JSON file containing this org chart. As you can see here, president, name, direct reports. This is very amazing and very cool, and it's a very useful use case. Okay, this is becoming already long, but let's move on. Moving on, let's discuss working with charts, graphs, and slide decks. So basically, Claude is capable of working with charts, graphs, and slide decks. And also in this case, there are best practices and advice. The best way to pass Claude charts and graphs is to take advantage of its vision capabilities. This is pretty obvious. Give Claude an image of the chart or the graph along with a text question about it. And now let's see how it works. So here's an example of an image, different charts, retail units sold, total revenue, total markets at year end, etc. And what's in the image? Answer in a single sentence. The image shows various financial metrics and growth trends from blah, blah, blah. Now we can ask more questions. How many additional markets has Carvana added since 2014? What was 2016 revenue per retail unit sold? And as you can see, Claude is capable of analyzing the data and answering, which is amazing. When it comes to slide decks, Claude can also assist us with this. So slides represent a critical source of information for many domains, as you guys know, including financial services. So while you can use packages to extract text from the slide decks, you can obviously also use vision models, which is better. So here's the best way to get a typical slide deck into Claude is download it as a PDF and then convert each PDF page to an image. Here's how to accomplish this. And also over here, we can see how Claude is analyzing the text and responding based on the prompt. I won't go into much detail to this because I think this video has become already a bit too long and you get the gist of it. Let's see what's over here. So over here, you can see like different use cases of how you can connect between Claude and Stable Diffusion API to basically create images of the responses. So just sharing an example over here. So basically you have a system prompt which guides Stable Diffusion how to generate an image. So you're Claude, a helpful, honest, harmless AI assistant. One special thing about this conversation is that you have access to an image generation API. So you may create images for the user if they request to do so, or if you have an idea for the image that seems especially profound. However, it's also totally fine to just respond to the human normally if that's what seems right. If you don't want to generate an image, write function call create image. I mean, if you do want, so you write the function call create image and replace the prompt with a description of the image. So here is some guidance. And you can see here the output and the input. Again, I don't want to go into much detail over here, but just showing you the fact that you can combine Claude or different other models with Stable Diffusion. And basically, the best thing about this is that you can let the LLM dictate or decide whether or not it wants to create an image. Over here, you can see also like they asked it to create a recipe. A delicious and easy dinner idea using potatoes and eggplant. So this is the recipe, this is the instruction, and over here you can see the image of the recipe. Roasted eggplants and potato curry, and you can see an image over here that was generated using the prompt. Here's another example. Moving on. So building evals. Basically, this allows you to optimize Claude to give you the highest possible accuracy on task in an empirical science and a process of continuous improvement. Whether you're trying to know if you want to change the prompt or whether you're trying to understand if the model is good enough to launch into production, a good system for offline evaluation is critical to success. And we discussed this already. So basically, you write an evaluation, and each evaluation typically has 4 parts. The input prompt that is fed to the model, the output that comes from running the input through the model we want to evaluate, a golden answer to which we compare the model output. The golden answer could be mandatory exact match, or it could be an example of a perfect answer meant to give the grader a point of comparison to base their scoring on, and a score generated by one of the grading methods discussed below. Basically, so let's say we want to write cold outreach emails, and we have the perfect cold outreach email example. This would be the golden answer. We're going to provide a prompt to the LLM asking it to write a personalized cold outreach email. We will receive the output, which is the outreach email, and then we will compare the output to the perfect outreach that we provided as a golden answer, and we are going to give grades, or the LLM or we are going to give grades based on the output and comparing it to the perfect answer. So there are different types of grading, and this is very important to understand. So code-based grading, human grading, and model-based grading. I won't go into detail over this, but this is very important to understand if you're interested in learning how to evaluate prompts and the different types of evaluations. It's very useful to have a grading mechanism or an evaluation mechanism in your flows, which will basically allow you to do like some sort of QA or criticism or provide feedback and create an iterative process that will improve your prompts. What's next that I want to show you? So moderation filters, also very interesting mechanisms that basically you can create moderation filters to allow or disallow certain output. So for example, the basic approach to provide Claude with a prompt that describes categories you want to filter for, so allow or block. So let's assume I'm writing a cold outreach automation and I want to send personalized outreach stuff, like a personalized outreach to a prospect, but some things I don't allow. So I can define different categories, let's say allow and block, and then I can provide the output and let the LLM categorize it, the response, if it is similar or something that it would need to allow based on the criteria that I set. It will move on with the automation and send the personalized outreach. And if it contains anything that should be blocked, let's say I can add to the prompt, if this contains any reputational risk, block this outreach, and then it's going to block this automatically, and basically it helps you categorize different things. So this is another great example, and obviously this is just an example of categorizing based on allow and disallow, but you can also categorize on different other aspects, which is useful. And last but not least is the meta prompt, which is a long multi-shot prompt filled with half dozen examples of good prompts for solving various tasks. And these examples help Claude to write a good prompt for your task. So basically the meta prompt allows you to approach a project. Let's assume that you don't know how to write a prompt and you're not sure what exactly you should include in the prompt. So the meta prompt is kind of a solution for the blank paper that you're not sure about how to, let's say you want to write creative or a song and you're not sure how to get started. This is what the meta prompt is for. So it contains different examples of good prompts, and as you can see here, it is very structured. It has different tags and different examples. I would advise that you take a look, like deeper dive into how they build this. And this is, by the way, a Google Colab that you can use. And what you have to do over here is enter your task in the cell below. And these are just examples. So choose an item from a menu for my given user preferences. Write a resume according to a rubric. Explain a complex scientific concept in simple terms. Draft an email responding to a customer complaint. And you just need to provide the initial prompt. And after you provided the task, the meta prompt allows you to generate a better and more detailed prompt. As you can see over here, it does have one issue with the output, but it's just an edge case, so I wouldn't care about that so much. But basically the idea of the meta prompt is that if you're not sure about how to write the prompt, you can always come here and use the meta prompt just by providing the initial task, and it will generate a better prompt for you because it has, as you can see here, tons of good examples of how a good prompt should look like. So if you're kind of stuck with a prompt, you can either go here and use the meta prompt, or you can go to the prompts library and just use it as inspiration and copy. One more thing that I'm often using when I'm prompt engineering or working with an LLM is I write the initial prompt, then I get the output, and then I give like better and more detailed advice. I get another instance of output, and then I just do this a few more rounds until I'm happy with the output. And then what I do, and it's supposed to be pretty helpful, is I tell the LLM, okay, I'm happy about this output. What exactly do I need to add in my prompt next time when I want you to help me produce the same output? Please provide a guided and detailed step-by-step prompt that I can leverage next time we want to reproduce this output. And after I do so, OpenAI or Claude generates a good and detailed prompt, and I just save this prompt in a sticky note or wherever I'm saving all my prompts, which is usually a canned response tool. But yeah, I'm just saying that you can use the LLM to assist you in writing a better prompt, and this is very helpful. Okay, I guess that's it for today, guys. Pretty long video about prompt engineering, how to write better prompts. We covered a lot of stuff from the documentation of Anthropic, and I think this resource is very valuable. Checking out the prompt library, understanding how they are structuring their prompts, the fact that they are so detailed, have examples, give context, assign roles. These are all stuff that you should definitely emphasize whenever you write your own prompts, and it can just produce way better results and also reduce costs. We also covered the fact that Anthropic is providing a prompt engineering interactive tutorial or, exercise, which is very cool to check out. And we also covered a few best practices for different use cases, such as best practices for leveraging vision, best practices for slide decks and charts, and best practices for transcribing text. That's it for today, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Obviously, leave a comment below if you have any ideas for more pieces of content. If you enjoyed, what did you learn? I'm always happy to hear feedback, so please leave them in the comment section. And obviously, until next time, keep on automating.